Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friend Preston Poulter, who has a book right now on Kickstarter, Palace of the Golden Princess, which offers a fun, sexy romp through a fantasy RPG setting run by women. Issue 3 is on Kickstarter, as I stated, and right now he's actually offering for anybody who signs up for his email list at pocketjackcomics.com a free copy in PDF form of issue 1, so you can actually try it before you buy it. And he's got some sick whiskey paint covers out there. I think RB White is on that campaign too. So it's a really, really cool book. And if you're into the D&D, sword and sorcery type of books and run by Women's Society, it's a perfect book for you. And there's awesome covers. So check it out. I'm excited for it. I've obviously read issues 1 and 2. I'm excited for issue 3. So check that out. And anybody who knows me, and you can check my Kickstarter record, everybody. I don't back all that many Kickstarters, but the ones I do back, I really enjoy. So just want to throw that out there that I am a backer on that one. So anyway, though, enough about that, because I have with me Christie Shinn. So welcome back.
Hey, I'm glad to be back here. It's been a while. I had to think through my other Kickstarter too.
Yeah, no. I'm excited to have you back. It's been a while, as you stated. I don't know, when was the last time we did it? I don't think we did one this year yet, did we?
No, we hadn't. I think it was like even the year prior we didn't do one because I know we did one during COVID.
Yeah. I don't even remember. I don't know if we did one in because I do about 150 interviews a year, so things get lost in the shuffle for me as far as I'm concerned. And then obviously I can't keep track of everybody's projects, and I miss a bunch of people, not because I want to, just because life happens. But you do have a Kickstarter right now, and it is Demon Bitch. I Hate You All. And it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because it's, I think, the 5th or 6th Demon Bitch book sort of in chronological order. But then there's also another side where it's a kid's book, I think, in association. And I'm a little tentative because it's a little weird to say that in the same sentence. But and we're going to talk about that. But what is Demon Bitch for those who are hearing about it for the first time? Because people come into my interviews at all different angles.
Okay, so Demon Bitch is a low-level demon from the 13th pit of hell where people throw their dog shit in gum wrappers. And she wants to bring the second coming of Armageddon, but the first one never happened because she's a dumb bitch. She's based on girls I hate. So, like, this is just real-life shit that I've watched, personal interactions with some of these dumb fucks. You know, it's just all over, generally over the place. Like, I started drawing this book as sort of a pissed-off book that made me laugh like an asshole. But then as time went on, I realized that, wow, this is kind of deep to people. Like, okay, there's pissed off books. There's even pissed off women's books. And I don't claim the trademark on those. But it's weird because I've had people from both sexes come up to me and say to me, you know, your book or your comic, it hit right at home. Like how like that situation made me that angry in that way. And I was just like, wow. And it's like, but they got to laugh at it and they're like cleansed of all that rage that they had. Where it's like other angry books, they just got angry and they may have had a laugh, but it wasn't like on this completely relatable scale. But it was just kind of weird how that happened. And I was just like, damn. And so I mean, I'm a Ringo Award winner, but it's for Mind Planned Parenthood. It's not for this. But it was kind of like crazy, like how in depth the writing was. And I wasn't even, see, the thing is, I'm kind of one of those creators that I don't set out to make the deepest fucking amazing content ever. Neither am I aiming for the shittiest content. It's just like I just draw it and let it be itself. And I guess that works for Demon Bitch because people really like it. And even if like people don't like it or they get mad or they say, oh, it's not my, I don't care about the people that say it's not my cup of tea. I mean, I understand everybody has different preferences, but when they start like getting mad at me and telling me like how awful it is and shit, I'm like, oh, thank you, because it's Demon Bitch. It's supposed to be terrible.
So let's actually talk about this a little bit because obviously, you know, there's things that I don't like in comics where it's not my cup of tea, right? So I'm not going to go read a Yuri book or a Yaoi book, for lack of a better word. I'm a big anime fan. Not my cup of tea. I like shoot them up action, which is just ridiculous. And I like to read a book that doesn't make me think and calms me down while I'm sipping my whiskey on my Friday night. That's what I like to do. I'm right now on a John Wick vibe. Is the type of book that I'm looking for. So that's where I'm at probably for the next month and a half. It's the same thing in Netflix, same thing with everything. I'm probably gonna rewatch John Wick like 15 times in the next 6 weeks. It's great, all of them. Don't worry, everybody. But what is this like though? Because when you do find that people say, I like this and I want this social commentary, because that's how I view it, is that it's a social commentary book. It's a funny book. And it also kind of hits what you were saying, the nail on the head. But sometimes people can't express that, but they want to, if that makes any sense. And so,
Yeah.
what is that like? Because it is an art and it's very important. Because I don't know if you're trying to make a point or if you're just saying, hey, a bunch of people feel like this in a bunch of different circumstances, or they know somebody like this character.
I think it depends. I think it has to affect me personally for me to draw it in this way. For example, like sometimes I don't look when I go on Twitter, I don't look at what's trending, but I look at the people who's following what's trending, if that makes sense. So I think like, okay, for the example, let's look the hashtag comics broke me. And this was around the same time as the Titanic submersible. And it was the same time where you had the Pakistani migrants in Greece, like their boat capsized, killing a lot of them. All of them were very fucked up, unfortunate accidents. What made me, I will kind of tell you about my emotional thought process during this time. So it's not just one set thing, but just I'll go through one of them. It kind of filled me with disgust how people were like, pick one that's the most terrible. I'm like, why do I fucking need to pick one? They're all terrible. They're all fucked up. Like, I can't joke about this. Like, I think it's kind of disgusting. What I found disgusting is people were literally like jumping on these people's dead bodies trying to make themselves look good. Now, there is a definite difference to people that are, putting condolences, grieving, wishing people well in those circumstances. And I don't find that bad. But I have noticed that in social media, there's those certain groups of people that will try to hijack the soapbox and then do a holier than thou speech, but also being really crass and mean about the situation. I mean, I'm a fan of fucking dark humor that's fucked up. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like a lot of fucked up jokes, but to me, like some of these were coming, like some of these jokes that people were making from this vantage point, no matter what situation it was coming from a very mean and vicious place. It wasn't even funny. It wasn't even dark humor. It was just mean. And then there's another group where, it was like basically if anybody's not familiar with the comics that broke me because of this guy's overwork, he died of literally of an exhaustion type of ailment or whatnot. And they were accusing like the big comic publishers for exploiting people. Now, I do agree that, there is an element of that. And I know that a lot of people have gotten fucked over. I'm not going to name companies. I'm just going to say in general, and that's legitimate. You should hear that story. But then what it devolved into is some of the like more indie publishers were going like, yeah, like, well, we're better than them. And upon closer inspection, those same publishers did the same, if not worse, to people. Like when they were doing stuff like, oh, let's do a gay pride book or something. And, they had a lot of gay creators on it, which they should have. But then they exploited the shit out of them by not paying them or like giving them the money they deserved and all this and like did so much way worse. Like, for example, I'm not saying this is just it, but just little publishers, for example, saying this holier than thou shit. And then when you look into them, they did even worse. Now, I'm not giving the big companies a pass. They're bad, but it's like, don't throw stones in glass houses here. So that was like my level of disgust. So I did 2 Demon Bitch cartoons, and one was of Shipbird and Demon Bitch taking pictures of themselves in front of a guy and laid out in a coffin saying, wow, I'm glad he's dead, because that's how they got the attention. That was their platform, the attention. The other one is they were doing King of the Hill on top of somebody's corpse and like, hey, bitch, get off. It's my turn. It's like the amount of attention buying that people have. Another example is like, I had one of Shipbird screaming, I'm autistic. And the caption was like, when nobody likes you on the internet. Now I have friends on the spectrum. I have friends that are married to people on the spectrum. I have close family members on the spectrum. They got that fucking cartoon. And again, I'm not saying if you're on the spectrum, you have to show me your card officially, but it's very suspect to me when somebody goes and they're a total fucking piece of shit on the internet. And when they burned every fucking bridge they possibly could, they immediately go, I'm autistic. Oh man, it must be on the spectrum. But when you ask them, oh, so did you go to a doctor or a healthcare practitioner to see if you're properly diagnosed and treated? Oh no, I just know. And I'm just like, so you're using people with conditions or handicaps or whatever to absolve yourself of shit. You're a dick, So it's like I point that shit out. and people get it. Like so many people thought it was funny because it was like, it's true, because they know that I'm not making fun of a person on the spectrum. They know I'm not mocking fat people. They know that I'm mocking skinny people or just body shaming people. It's just like, if you're a scrawny piece of shit, you are. If you're a fat piece of shit, you are. If you're a regular looking piece of shit, you are. I'm just going to call you a piece of shit. It's just you have different appearances. But it's not just your physical appearance or your condition that just makes you that.
Because the way I read Demon Bitch is that I view it where it's a fair target on everybody if you do
Yeah.
something, and it's commentary. And look, I made commentary jokes. Me and my friends were joking, and I'll be the first person to say about the submersible, saying, I guess they forgot to replace the batteries in the Nintendo controller, which I thought was a funny joke. And I didn't think it was that terrible. And obviously, I thought it was funny. My friends thought it was funny, but we thought it was funny. But like, I wasn't gonna go make a joke even worse than that. And I've seen plenty of bad ones where I've seen some funny things with that were really well done. But they were funny. But then I've seen just people being lazy with it, and that's where I think this book is really interesting. Is that I don't think it's lazy. Where I think that, unfortunately, in comics and even in writing, we look at social commentary, and I think a lot of people miss the point of social commentary, where you're making a point, you're taking a spin on it, so that 98% to 99% of the population says, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain that any other way. And that's what I think is interesting about your book in particular, is that you do that with almost every single one of your cartoons. Naturally, if you did 1,000 cartoons, you're going to have a miss here or there, just statistically, just because nobody's perfect. It's the same thing with interviewing, where I'm going to have misses regardless of what I do. But the fact that you do that and you do it well, I think is what makes Demon Bitch successful by definition.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's just as I said, I kind of think things through, like the precursor of the book, which you can also pick up on the Kickstarter. So all my old books that you have written and drawn, both, you could pick it up in both PDF form and in signing form or like physical form. And I'll personally sign the paperbacks too. And what's cool is that when I did that, it was just like more of personal monsters. Like, I guess I'm kind of like Matt Groening. Like when you first move to LA, you have to just kind of like, go and write a pissed off book about LA because you have to go through the fucking stereotypical part about LA, the stereotypical douchey part, I guess. And so this is what ended up happening is that I just worked on the stereotypical douchey part of LA that I ran into, and I just made fun of these personality types because I just dealt with them. And then what's weird is like our society is kind of very unhealthy in dealing with shit like this properly. You either get in the person's face, you either tell the person that has gotten victimized, shut the fuck up, you were stupid. And it's like, and if they still feel upset or angry about it, instead of just saying, I'm just not comfortable seeing you angry, they just say, oh, well, you just should get over it, which is like the most dismissive thing ever. If you're not like ranting about it and wanting to go and kill the person or destroy their property, I think you're allowed to talk about it a bit and get past it. It's just like, and even if I would talk to people, they say, well, you shouldn't have been so nice. And it's like, so you're victim. And then these are the same people that turn around and go like, why is everybody so mean? How come nice people get fucked over? I said, well, I don't know. You go to a person that's actually a nice person who has been fucked over, and you tell them you shouldn't be so nice. It's like people kind of have this weird cognitive dissonance on that. And it's really not good. And
it's interesting you bring that up.
Yeah. It's like
I explain it a different way on how my show has evolved. So there's a reason why I don't read the comments. Somebody openly was belligerent in my comments. They were attacking guests, and then I used to show my comments, and then I said, this upset me, it upset my guest, and then I stopped doing it. Then they said, Andrew, that's the one thing I don't like about your show. And but you told me, in which you basically, this individual single-handedly created the problem by being belligerent, then whined and bitched about why I don't read the comments. And then my response back is saying, you legitly took the milk, you emptied out the milk, and you say, hey, why don't we have any milk? I would like milk with my cookies. Like, you legitly just emptied out the whole milk on the floor. And now you're complaining that we have no milk. It's on the floor, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's like the same thing when people say, well, people are stupid. And it's like, okay, then stop being pissed off when they do stupid things. That's the thing. It's like if you assume all people are stupid, you're just not going to assume that they're doing much of anything else. So why should you be mad? You just expect them to be stupid. Oh wait, you don't. You just want to bitch. They say no. I'm just smart because according to this. Because I'm like, no, you just want to have a superiority complex. Well, aren't you saying there's no stupid people? Oh, hyperbolic. Great. No, there are legitimately stupid people, but a lot of people are very emotionally reactive. They can appear stupid, but sorry, I actually like to think that people should be held responsible for their shit. So no, I don't assume all people are stupid. I say people sure like to act stupid. That is different, but they're not stupid as a whole.
well, I have a rule with my ex at the time. So when she would come home and she wanted to complain, I would say, "Do you want a solution, or do you just want to whine and complain because you're upset?" And sometimes she wanted a solution, but sometimes she just wanted to whine and bitch that her coworker was being a bitch
Yeah.
and that her coworker was being an asshole. And so, I understood there's a difference between that. Sometimes somebody just wants to get out their feelings.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But sometimes somebody wants a legitimate solution. And
Yeah.
I think we've forgotten how to ask those questions to people. Do you just want to complain for an hour and you're good? Or do you actually want a solution how to solve your problem? Or do you want both? And there you go. But I don't know if that's what Demon Bitch is for, but I enjoy Demon Bitch. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
But what is this like though? To even go further into your book, because I think this is the fifth one at this point.
Yeah, it's the fifth one.
So
Fifth
what
one,
is that
the
like?
graphic novel.
So what is this like? Because at this point, I mean, you've done at least 100 cartoons, if not 200 or closer. I think you're approaching around 200, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a
Yeah,
little
I
less.
think so. Actually, I think it's about 200 to 300. I mean, I've at least drawn about three something odd cartoons because of my files on my computer, but that's a little different. But yeah, yeah, I have done that, and I like drawing all that stuff. I think it's just stuff that if it really makes me angry at the time, or if it really was just stupid and ridiculous, it has to be kind of something I've been thinking about, and it just kind of like when people ask me, oh, how do you do it? I get the image in my head, I get the go, and I just draw it, and then I have immediately that, yeah, like that one. Like it's just like it's funny because like you have the influencer culture, but you have like regular people, especially women, that go like, now I can do anything I want. I'm pretty, and it's like you're really kind of basic looking, kind of like you look the same, and it's like I've run into that a lot, and I'm sure there are guys that do that, but it's more of a different flavor that I've seen. Like it's like sometimes I'll start laughing. I said, "Oh my god, this fucker looks like a complete and total Chad," and that's so great, But it's funny because they're like so Chad like, and it's like, but I don't really like using shit like Karen and stuff that much because I think sometimes also that shit is overused too. Like I was around somebody that was said Becky, Becky, Becky like 50 million times a day. It's like, well, you shut the fuck up. Like already, like stop it about the Beckys and the Karens. Like shut up already. Fuck, you sound like a Karen and a Becky yourself. Like stop. As I said, and I know people named Karen and Becky, so like stop that too. They're not like that.
I think it's interesting because obviously, I mean, it's just at this point, I mean, you're reacting to life, and that's what's so interesting, right? Is that this is in real time, and I don't know how much. And I'm actually curious. When did you start doing Demon Bitch? How many years ago?
Oh, I think it was 2015, 2016.
So
Roughly.
we're talking 8 years, 8, 9 years.
Yeah, been doing that.
So, because I don't know if much has actually changed in the last 10 years in our society, in which that I think this stuff existed 10 years ago with the attitude our society has. I just think that a bunch of incidents have, I guess, shine more light or have given it more access into our lives. I think social media has become bigger. I think Instagram, TikTok has become bigger. I also think the fact that COVID happened, you know, everybody was home and online. And I think that we are now in somewhat, at least in my part of the US and where I work, it's a hybrid schedule, which means I'm way more connected than I've ever been before. And so I just think that we're more prevalent to all this stuff, and that's why we're seeing more of this. But I think it was there 10 years ago. I really do. And so
I
what is
think
it like for you? Because this is more relevant than ever. And I don't think Demon Bitch Volume 1 is like not topical. Like you know how Seinfeld, some parts of Seinfeld are still topical, but other parts aren't. I
yeah,
don't
like some of it's
think.
dated.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Some of it's dated. Like, is that what
But,
you're trying?
but I think the relationship aspects of Jerry being a stand-up comedian, dating people, and these four friends having a relationship. Same thing with Friends. I think parts of that is just human society, but I also think that big cell phones are way outdated. You know, but what is this like? Because I don't know if Demon Bitch has been outdated yet, Volume 1, because I don't think we're out of this era. That really is this, I guess, commentary on society. And I mean, I'm 30, so, I don't know how old you are, but obviously this is kind of my generation to some degree.
Well,
You don't have to answer that question. The
no,
age.
no, no. I don't mind answering. I've just got to think about it for a minute. It's interesting because I think it makes me think of like how we adapt to things. We adapted to having cell phones from being like convenient flip phones to like calling your mom, like from pagers to like being a little supercomputer in our pocket where we could access everything. So all in all, I think that most of the time, I think it's just one of those things like we just become more conscious of it as it goes on. Like I would say maybe 10 years ago, how people would pose as couples or anything like that. Now we can tell the difference if a couple is in fucking trouble and who's a real couple. Like if they're saying, I love you all the time and I'm taking pictures of us 24 fucking 7 and I'm showcasing how great I'm at. It's like, okay, so you guys are almost like going to get divorced or breaking up, right? But then if you have people like occasionally being with their families or whatever, and like how they say things and everything is different. I think we're coming across now as a culture like we're beginning to know the difference between real and fake in social media. Now people say, well, you can't really know. I said, I don't know. I think people are picking up more on it. Like there are ways to pick up on it.
Hey, I think Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey are a real couple.
I
I'm rooting for them. It's a
if
touchdown.
it is,
I'm telling you.
if it is, it is. I kind of have no skin in that fight. I just kind of don't really observe it. It's just like whatever if they are. But I'm just kind of like thinking to myself, it's really hilarious that these fuckers are like running around doing whatever. So, yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm rooting for Travis Kelsey on that one. He's going wide, and Patrick Mahomes is throwing some magic into that pass for
Oh,
him. I really enjoy Monday Night Football, everybody. So expect for the next like 3 to 4 months a bunch of football jokes is what's coming out on this show. Um,
yeah, yeah. But I mean, as I said, it's not anything terrible. It's like, as I said, it's just my observation of society. But I think that, you know, you can tell the difference. You can start telling the difference more where people are putting more of a show to be online because we all do it on some point. I think like more and more, there's going to be a lot less and less. Well, I don't have social media. I'm not on social media at all. I think I remember one person saying that you can avoid something until it's rude not to be on it. Like, oh, well, I don't want a cell phone. Well, it's getting to be where you're going to need one because your family is going to expect to find a way how to get a hold of you or to email you or text you. And a flip phone ain't going to do it anymore. And it gets to that point. I don't think it's like bad or anything. It is what it is.
No, I think it's interesting where I know people who say, "Look, I don't want to have a Facebook. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter or X, or I don't want to be on X. I'll be on Facebook. I'll be on Instagram, and I mean, I'm on TikTok. I'm all over the place. But even still, it is interesting because when you have, obviously this being exposed, I mean, it opens up so much more, and that's why I think people get Demon Bitch, where that's the whole thing is that we are so exposed to it that there's no way in hell that we cannot not process it. And then you have a book that deals with that. And it's just like we see an influencer doing something that just infuriates us on Instagram, but we have no outlet. And then you hit that nail on the head. We're like, oh, we all get it now. They'll get it. And that's what's fascinating is that I think we need more of it. And so what is it that even like? Because I don't want to say it's therapeutic because I don't want to cheapen the word, but in a sense, I think it's a release, this book, where I think it can be very much that, oh, there's somebody who actually realizes this is somewhat messed up and this isn't normal. In which
Yeah.
that, because I think it's a complicated thing, because that topic alone is complicated. I mean, I love absurdity and I love reading absurdity. One of my favorite books is Razor Girl, and the whole book is absurdity. And this to me is social commentary, absurdity, making fun of society and questioning, what the hell is going on in society in a fun adult way. And that's what's so interesting about this whole thing, in which I view it almost like an experiment, a social experiment to some degree.
Yeah, I think it's like with Demon Bitch, it's sort of like also, I was thinking about how accessible we are now. It's like, it's like if a person wanted to drop off the face of the planet, that's hard to. It's like your social media accounts and your online imprint are everywhere. Like you have to be accessible to everybody. And I find that very interesting. Like, well, I put on my shit on private. I said, but you're accessible to the other people that are to the other people to the other people. Like you are accessible, but the only way that people cannot access you is that if they show you, if you just choose not to show certain aspects of yourself online. But even then people can pick it out. Like I don't want to tell them like what I did in my day. Yeah, I took a shit in the fucking toilet and all. Like I don't think I need to go that far about my day. But let me show a facet. Oh, here's my Kickstarter kind of thing. That's what I feel like showing a part of my day. I don't fucking like talking about what the fuck I have to eat and what great pictures there are. I just don't care right now. Like that's not my thing. Maybe I'll take a picture of my cats or me and like some outfits or some modeling outfits, but I don't like go out, or my drawings. But I just don't feel like going every single fucking part of my day. I got to go and talk about some stupid cocksucking fucking thing all the time in my life because I don't need that much validation.
It's interesting in which that my life is very private. It's very private. What people see and the aspects they see of my life are chosen. So I have a day job, and when I got my offer, I didn't mention it at all on Facebook or social media, in which that it just wasn't important, and I didn't really want anybody to know because that's not their business. And what
Yeah.
I do, and I don't do anything bad. I don't want anybody to think that I do something bad, but that's not something that I wanted people to know, and I just didn't feel that it was necessary. And so there's a lot of stuff. When I get married, that's probably not going to be on Facebook. To be quite honest, that's a very private thing, and there's a lot of reasons why. I hate to say it, but I don't know who's out there. And I mean, not saying, but call me paranoid, but we live in a crazy world. So the less information on key pieces, it protects me. And you could call me paranoid, but I don't trust, society. And there's been plenty of crazy shit that's happened in the world that gives me good agency to believe what I believe. I also think that a bunch of other people have a job too. So it's not that interesting. It's not that interesting. There's a million things that are way more interesting. So cool. I just interviewed said person, and that's the other thing too, is that I think that a lot of people think A is interesting when everybody has a day job. 90. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but a lot of people have day jobs. It's not that interesting to have a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I have to announce it, but I agree. I think it's interesting in a lot of ways. But I do want to back out of this, and I want to talk about the other half of this campaign, which is the kids' book. That's a whole different beast. And this will now be a fucking curse-free fucking zone. Fuck.
It's a completely curse-free book. It's hilarious because people think, oh, you just put the same thing of Demon Bitch in there. I'm like, not really. I mean, it's funny because like one person, it's so funny the reaction of people that get. They're like, I said, oh, it's a kid's book for kids. Oh, well, don't put the same things you put in that other book. I'm like, I told you it was a kid's book. But okay, so this is how it kind of happened. All right. This is a long, weird story. So I was at a convention earlier, Pasadena, I think Toy Fair or Toy Con or something. I forgot. So here I am. I'm just like, oh, yeah, look at this. This is Demon Bitch. I'm there representing Caps and everything. And all of a sudden, people come up to me with their single-digit age kids. I'm like, oh, hi, how's it going? I mean, I have Demon Bitch, so it's like, that's what it is. And then they come up to me and said, oh, can we look at the book? I said, yeah, you can. And then they pick it up and they put it down and they have their kid read it. I mean, it says demon bitch. Like, you can tell by a title like that. Like, I didn't make this for children. And again, the content is actually PG-13 enough. It's not like super sexual or anything, but it, there are adult situations. And yeah, they started saying, see, look, you can be a comic artist just like her. You can create comics like her. I'm like, okay. And so I decided, fuck it. Why don't I just apply to some all ages shows? So I did, but I sent them everything. I did not hold back. I just said, here you go. Here's everything. Um, they had voiced their concerns. And then after the show was over, they would come up to me and say, that was great. I said, and they said, we were a little worried about that, but you know what? Come back again.
So let's actually talk about this, because
Yeah.
obviously I'm not a parent. I don't know if you're a parent. Again, you don't have to answer that question. But I'll disclose I'm not a parent yet. And so obviously, I think that when I was raised, and when I was 7, language was different. I think the word fuck has become watered down, right? I think cursing in general, sexual situations in our society have become watered down as far as television, and even when these kids are being exposed to that. That's just my thoughts on it. Not saying that you should bring your 5-year-old and put on a rated R movie for him. Not saying that, but I think age has moved a little bit, where I think PG-13 for me is not PG-13 anymore, is my point.
Yeah.
But I also think that parents are also more liberated. I think parents are making more choices on what they want to expose their kids and when they want to expose it to them. And so what is that like? Because that experience of bringing a book called Demon Bitch to a more kid-friendly environment, obviously could have blown up either way. And it's really interesting because we're in a different era now where it is definitely, I don't want to say more progressive, but maybe more libertarian. Maybe more open might be a better word to use.
I would say open, just because kids have better access to everything. Like, you go on the internet and do a search string and that's it. I think on the whole, it's kind of like, initially we kids would like get access to adult shit, even though it was restricted. Like, oh, let's get the fucking Playboy, to like, now let's go get the new dirty comic. Now it's like, oh, let's put in a search string of blue waffle. Oh shit. Like it's like basically we went into the cerebro of fucking the internet, of horrible things. I mean, we all knew Goatsy back in the day, when we were kids, to like young adults, and we're like, oh fuck, So it was like gross shit that you could look up. I mean, there was Ogrish, there was Rotten.com. They had all those things, right? They didn't have paywalls or anything. You could, if you knew the name, you could get it. But at the same time, when I did this kids book, it was kind of a joke, but it was a legitimate kids book. So I remember hearing once, like on a show, and I can't remember the show, but one of the women had received their book. I was a little kid, and it's like, oh yeah, they sent your kids book back. It's like, hey kids, meet Mr. F word. And that just stuck with me throughout the decades. So when I grew up, I wrote this book like Demon B meets Mr. F word. So it's about a guy named Mr. F word, and people can't say his real name because bad things happen and that upsets him. But then he realizes how important he is, and he feels even better about himself. And of course, Demon Bitch is still a piece of crap throughout all this. So it kind of shows kids that even if a person's with you on the journey, they may not be the best person ever. So it kind of points that out too. So yeah, it's just, and it's also funny because I thought it was hilarious that homeless people were throwing garbage in or on the street, because that's what downtown LA looks like. So yeah, but I mean, I was just bringing these elements in that are kind of adult, or that are kind of like ridiculous, but they are the best ever in terms of just getting the point across. And I actually tested it out on my friends that were parents. I just sent the book out, say, hey, read it, see if it's appropriate for children. They read it, they loved it, their kids loved it. So it's like, okay, it's a go. So, and Stephen Prince signed it. He did the foreword, he does Monster Matador, but his kids are very, very spirited, let's say. So I thought he would be perfect for it. And it's just like a kid's book. You can read it to, and it's one of those things like you can read it to your children, but you can laugh your ass off. I think that's the same purpose as the Stupids book. The Stupids, like you read that, and even though it's like totally kid appropriate, it would just made you die because it was just so ridiculous.
I haven't read the Stupids. But I did watch Batman 68 with Adam West, and there's a lot of stuff in there if you really dive deep into it. Where remember, Robin, drink your milk. I mean, you can interpret that however you want to interpret it.
Look
I
at
have
He-Man.
a very dark position
Look
with
at He-Man.
that woman. A very different interpretation than most people do. I also have a really messed up interpretation of Neverland, but we don't have to go into that.
Yeah.
We all know what Tinkerbell is, guys. We all know what she is, and we don't have to go into it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, read Lost Girls by Alan Moore. We'll have a real conversation about that on a different day. That's a 4-hour podcast if anybody would like to join me. Anytime, anywhere. But I digress. But what is this like though? Because doing a kid book, doing a younger age book is a very different beast than doing an adult book. To the sense that not necessarily in drawing it, not necessarily in publishing, but what you can do, what you have to avoid, maybe what you have to mask a little bit, where you can't. I mean, you didn't. I don't think you changed. You can't call her Demon Bitch. You have to call her Demon B in certain ways.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And you can't drop an F-bomb. Or you could drop maybe one or two, but you can't have fuckity fuck in a sentence. Which is a great sentence, by the way. It's grammatically correct. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's true. It's true. I think what it is like with Demon Bitch and Demon B, I think purposely not putting the swear words in there, it kind of puts you back to being a kid. Like you couldn't say bitch, but you say Demon B, or the F word, the B word. It's kind of like stuff like that. It puts you back to being a kid. It's like that little naughtiness. Like I've even had some people that, even though they were talking about Demon Bitch, the other book, the Demon Bitch, and then it's like they look like they were gonna get smacked across the mouth. It's funny. Like they had this look like, you're gonna smack me across the mouth or something.
I think it's interesting, and I think it's fascinating, and obviously, I mean, this is just one of those things that also I feel opens up a wider range for you as well, because somebody in which that it is definitely a younger, book and aimed at kids, and I think every business, if they can, should have multiple lines of product, and they should have multiple lines of things. So if you're a publisher and you're putting out a property, I think it's very important that you have an adult book. If that's what you want to do, you have a kid's book, and then maybe you have like a PG-13 book, because it expands your audience. And I was speaking with Rob Multari, and I know that Mog Park well. And so
Mog also has a print on Demon Bitch too.
Yeah, I think it's this one, right?
Yeah. It's like there's a sucker born every minute, and it's like, why you draw her all sexy? Like, what the fuck? But I mean, it's funny when people draw her all sexy. I mean, I don't get mad at however anybody draws her. It's just kind of funny to me.
But what is that like? Because Rob Multari just did or attempted to do a children's book. I don't think he made it. With wolf pups, and I've read parts of it, and I thought it was really well done. A really nice board picture book. Comic-esque might be a good way to describe it, but it is a different beast collectively. But also, if he was successful, that opens up a line of product, because now he could sell the adult stuff at a con to somebody who's 18, 19, 20, maybe 17, depending on the con. But he also then, when an 8-year-old comes up and says, "Oh, Nate, what's this?" He has a book for them and their parents. And I think it opens up a lot of doors economically. And I think this is something that creators sometimes don't get, is that once you bring a kid's book on, you now have a product for everyone who comes up to your table, which means you could sell to everyone. If you have a not safe for work 18 or older book, everybody hopefully gets to the age of 18. And there's a lot of 18 plus year old people, but there's also a lot of people at a con where little Johnny's 9 years old going with dad who's 40. And dad might not want to buy Night Wolf because Johnny can't read it, but he wants to reward Johnny for being a good sport. I mean, I think I'm making logical sense, right?
Yeah, like there's different ways that you can go and sell the product, and many different ways of things happening. I would agree that too. So, but I just am kind of laughing about it, because it's like, I don't know. I think it's just my other way to be wicked. I mean, how to draw a kid's book. I mean, it's like you don't swear, you don't curse, you don't put sex in it, but you can just put in other things. Like, because I grew up watching like the old school fucking, I were like Bugs Bunny and all that shit, Tom and Jerry, before it got like kind of stupid. But like the hardcore stuff, like where you had axes cutting them in half, Tom like cutting the tree with his crotch and stuff like that, and it was ridiculous, but it was like accepted for kids, and that's the slapstick shit of it. And that's the thing. It's like I grew up on that, and I think in some ways, like I think people confuse kids with being smart with being mature, and they don't and the thing is, like, no, I don't think kids on the whole are dumb, but they don't have experience. You're the one to teach them about experience, where to go with that knowledge, because you've been there before. But people say, oh yeah, I'll have my kid learn, but then the kid's not guided. Like, you don't, and I'm not trying to be like this like stupid fucking Gumby type shit where you're like, oh, you have to police your kid and everything, but kind of give them a guidance system to go by, give them sort of some parameters they can go by. And, then they can not break their head fucking open when they hit 18. At least that's what you hope. I mean, you'll probably like see them do pretty stupid shit, but it's like, at least if the stupid shit happens, it's not like so terrible it should be like, it's life threatening or life endangering or life changing in a horrible negative way. So it's just like, that's how I feel about it. And I just think it's going to be funny if kids actually go and they interact like that. They go and they do whatever, and they start fucking around, and I mean, I think it's okay if kids fuck around. It's just, I don't know what's going on about like this whole thing with kids where, it's so weird, because in the aspect of today's society where people are bitching about the most space and empathy, and they kind of don't do that with each other online.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So obviously, I have somewhat of a background in education, and there's a whole thing about social and emotional learning, and that's great in the physical, but it doesn't exist on the internet. It doesn't really exist
Mhm.
in corporations. It doesn't exist in the world. It doesn't exist in the supermarket, and it's really interesting where we're at with all of this. And also, when you do a kids book, and this is just my understanding, and again, I'm not a parent, but when I am and I'm looking for books for my children, I want books that teach good morality, teach good lessons, teach good concepts where, cool, Joe and Tom are having a good time, going on an adventure, do a bunch of bad stuff, but they do the right thing at the end, is the story. Where, because I want my kid to have that value where you should do the right thing and that you should. And so obviously with, Demon B and Mr. F, obviously, I mean, that's kind of what I think that parents look for when they pick up children's books, is saying, I don't mind having shenanigans going on, and I don't mind double entendres, and maybe one person's not the best person, but they also want a positive outcome of it. And so it's just so interesting because I've interviewed a bunch of people who do have children's books out there, and that's kind of what I've noticed the theme being in that. And so that's just what I've seen, but I haven't seen one that has a just go to hell. You're all horrible people, and everything should burn. And this is what you should be, kids. Have a good time and sow your oats. I haven't seen one of those yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, as I said, it's funny because like that's actually like I talked to one guy that I kind of knew, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this," and he said, "Wait, you're doing a kids book?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Ah shit, I better back this," because he just I think wanted to see how the kids book would turn out. So hey, if you're going to be a prospective parent, dude, you might as well start doing your reading right now.
So let's actually talk about this too, because obviously your campaign, I think, is in the middle of
Yeah,
funding. I think you're like somewhat in the middle. I haven't checked today.
61 right now, 61 right now. So a little,
661.
yeah.
So obviously, this is where this is interesting, is that I don't know how fast you funded Demon Bitch, the last one, but I think you have like 20 plus days, give or take, around that
Yeah,
number.
yeah.
Again, I haven't looked. I wrote your interview like 2 days ago, so I'm a little bit off on my numbers, but I'm in the zone a little bit. But I think what is that like though? Because obviously you're doing two books. One of them is
Mhm.
a kid's book. One of them is the main book. And what has this experience been like? Because you got a lot of pins, you got a lot of stuff in there, but you do have double the book work. And I understand that you did all the work. So it's not like you went out and hired two separate art teams to do this, but it's still printing, it's still publishing, it's still handling it. And what is that like? Because I don't know if the children's book is bringing in a boost or if it's just on track like your other campaigns are, and it's
I
kind of
think
just chugging down the road.
I kind of feel it's 50-50. Like I think a lot of people who have done it have backed before. So they already know what kind of to expect from me. But then they go like, ooh, a fucking kid's book. But then they're familiar with Personal Monsters, even though Personal Monsters has swearing. It's a kid's book for adults, right? So it's not too far from it, but this is mostly for children. I mean, adults can buy it too. Like for me, I actually like looking at kids' books a lot and reading them. And it's just because I want to see like how the graphics impact, how the words impact at such a simpler type of not rate, but in a method of telling. Because like children, they learn this much, right? And adults have already been up here, in terms of learning and experience. So I kind of want to see how well it teaches to people that don't have much experience, namely children. So sometimes I'll start reading kids' books just to see, oh, okay, let me see. Like, and this is me taking me as the adult out of the equation. If I read it and it's like, this is fucking stupid, I didn't like how it did it. It's not because, oh, I'm an adult reading a kid's book. It's like, as a kid, how would I feel if I read this? Like, would I look at this as like, that's stupid and just fucking not pick it up again? Like, you have to think about these things. Like, you kind of have to take yourself out of your shoes and go back, because we all have been kids at one point, right? So we kind of remember what it's like. So I'll like read it as a kid, and it's kind of funny because like there's some books that are immensely great, and there are some books that I'm like, why the fuck did you write this for a kid? This is fucking boring as shit. I don't like the art, I don't like the colors. And it's not just, I mean, I know personal preference can be into it too, but sometimes I'll try to be objective, and I said, I didn't like the artwork here because I thought it was just too much of this. And it's not even the moralistic thing like, oh, it was too sexual. I don't really see that in the kids' books I've read that have gotten my eye, but it's just like, is it something that would be engaging on a certain level? And I have a pretty big intolerant view of artwork, but sometimes some artwork just is kind of like, okay, I don't really care about this, whatever. But yeah, so it's like with this campaign, I actually really like the fact that, with this campaign, people back it because they're also A, backers of mine already, and B, they already are familiar with Personal Monsters and they love it. Or if I'll bring it up and say, oh yeah, I did the kids book. I said, okay, how the fuck do you do this? That's their second bit of curiosity. But it's like, it's funny when, even though I said this is a kids book for kids, they go like, are you sure this is a kids book? It's like, I would know. Okay. It's not like I put fuck or shit in there, guys. Like, I actually am the old school where you don't really try to swear in front of your children, or like you say stupid things in front of them, like really sexual terms or whatever. I mean, it's like I do practice some discretion, but it's like,
Do you also feel, because this is where I think some people mess up on Kickstarter, it's just my take. I ran a Kickstarter for something else, but and I was successful, but people didn't like it, which is fine. We don't have to go into that. But do you also feel though that Kickstarter is only the first round? Because to me, in the way I view kids' books, and I have a possibly different viewpoint, I might be speaking out of turn here, but I think the real play for a kid's book is at a con. I really do, or in a comic.
I'll probably sell it at a con, like especially for all ages, like because I've had people that say, "Do you have anything for children?" I just have this, and Personal Monsters is the next best thing. And sometimes they go for it, sometimes they don't. I always have them read it.
I think what it is that I think kid books are really difficult on Kickstarter. I really do. I think it's difficult because I think right now the algorithm on Kickstarter is bad girl art. It's also flashy covers, variants, and that's just my take. Or big names, help a lot too. So Power Rangers doesn't need a sexy girl. I don't need the Pink Ranger in a bikini to sell my Power Ranger book from Boom Studios. I would like it, Boom Studios. So if they're hearing this, give me that, and I'll be back at number one. But I don't think they need it because they have a licensed property. But I also think that kids' books are really hard. But I think at cons, from what I've heard from people, they clean up really well with children's books. And so
I think it gives an option. It gives an option for parents to, because like the other only kid friendly fare that you have is like Marvel and DC and maybe some Image, but other than that, it's like,
I don't even know if they're friendly though. Marvel and DC and even Image. I mean, you go to Image, there's things in Image that are not kid friendly for sure. For sure. Saga looks like it's kid friendly. Saga is not a kid friendly book. It's drawn like a picture book. It is anything but a picture book. But that's just my take, and I was just curious what you thought about that, because I think you'll kill it at cons with this book. I do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said, right now it's like as I sell it, it's like people really go in for the curiosity, but I have sample pages up. So it's not like there's any question what's in the book. I mean, obviously I'm not going to put the whole book up there, but I did put up a decent number of graphics. So just say, hey, this is how it's written. This is the format.
And then obviously I don't want to ruin too much of the book. But I do want to just mention rewards that you got really quickly. Obviously, you have Demon B meets Mr. F digital. I think you have Demon Bitch Pen 15. I'm very confused what Pen 15 stands for.
You know that meme where they had pen is here? Like, but it looks like penis here. But I put pen underscore 15 so that I could get it. Well, pen 15, like it's like leet for penis. So, but I didn't want to go and get in trouble for saying penis. So pen 15 underscore here. So that way it's like, no, it is. And it shows Demon Bitch holding a pen. So it can't be confused as adult material. But it's a play on that adult meme, like penis here. See, there you get it now. But it's like so multi-layered. It's like
I like how you just completely diffused the whole joke, just like that. Oh, just that was like the anti-joke ending right there. Like, oh, just if there's ever a super villain,
penis here, yeah, penis here. But then it's like pen 15, so nobody can like get mad at me that I'm saying something filthy. Because like at cons, you can't sell anything that's like what is it? You can't sell anything of sexual material, and it has to be covered up. And sometimes they get sensitive about the word, so you just have to say pen 15. But it's like leap for penis too. So
I know. I remember the Pen 15 club when I was in middle school. Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But I so we have that, and then I think there's physical copies of both of those books, and there's a bunch of shitbird stickers. I think Blender fuck stickers, shitbird pins, Blender fuck pins, a lot of stuff. I think some stuff signed. I think the Mog Park, poster / print. There's another one right here as well that's available. And then there's a bunch of them. You got like 8 of these, I think, right?
Well, what it is that they're pages of fan art from the comic, the graphic novel. But what I do is that I've made them into cotton archival prints that each of the original artists signed. There's actually an original piece that's Connie's like GMO fruits and stuff. That that's one of them. And then it's signed. And then there's another one. There's an actual print of it that will be signed too. And the I Am Shitbird pin and the Blender Fuck pin are actually coming from true stories. So, like I've had people come up to me and say like, you fucking like drew me, you fucking bitch. I can't believe you drew me, blah, blah, blah. And these are people I don't fucking know who they are. I don't know from Adam. And I look at them and I say, I must have run into 4 or 5 of you already. So that's not true. And then they didn't even matter because I didn't single them out. I just tell them you're not that special, So there was one individual that got really pissed at me, and they claimed that I had been stalking them because Shitbird had a white bathrobe and they had a white bathrobe, literally. And they went on how how they were Shitbird, and very proudly screaming that and saying that how I was this horrible person and everything. And my friends saw that and they were laughing. They were laughing their asses off because they said, so she's a piece of shit. So this person's a piece of shit. So they want to admit they're a piece of shit, and they start laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And then I just came up with this thing like, man, I should do an I Am Shitbird pin from from those incidences. So it's like, that song, that stupid like Coke song where it's like, if I could give the world a Coke today, and it's a stupid fucking song, and just have them do a fucking flash mob of it with all the I am shipper pins. That would be great. And some of my friends that were in on it, that saw that shit and that were in on it, they were started laughing. So that's available as a sticker and a patch too, if you want to further ruin your clothing and things. The blender fuck came from another true experience. Somebody actually messaged me because they happened to see Demon Bitch and they thought it was about them. They like literally messaged me, "You should go get fucked by a blender." And I looked at that like, oh, my self-esteem. My God, what am I going to do? So I showed this to one of my friends, Don Wynn, and I asked him to do one of the fan art for Alcoholics and Anonymous. And you could pick up a trade paperback of the book, or you could pick up the PDF. And it has that in here where she's like, "Oh, it's happening," and she's trying to write a blender inside a Vitamix and some shit. I mean, I have a Vitamix, so it was a nice present, but Christmas present. But yeah, she was trying to fuck like a blender. So I decided to make it more looter. So I just drew it that way, so you could put her on the water bottle or put a sticker of it on her, or like, so she's looking like she's humping something, or a patch. But yeah, it's called Blender Fuck, because I got told that I should go get fucked by a blender, and I'm like, okay, well. And I think that person is upset now because I made money off of that.
Sounds delightful. Sounds so delightful getting fucked by a blender.
I mean, you might as well get it, dude. Like, you're gonna have to get it. I mean, now that it looks like you're just like, oh fuck, I gotta go. Oh man, like it's just like this most fucked up package.
I am I'm buying a dungaree jacket, and I have all these patches, and so I plan to patch out the whole thing, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I have stuff from like Tom Hutchinson. I got some stuff from Zenoscope on there that I'm planning to put in there. I'm going to be probably putting in something from a zombie eating flesh or Bad Donut. I forget. I think they're the same company.
Have her hump your arm. Have her hump your arm.
I mean, I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I mean, I don't know I don't have any idea. So obviously it's going to be sleeves first, and then maybe you do something clever. Like I'm going to get a Snoopy patch on there because I think it's funny.
Or you can get the I am shippered, because it's a patch too. I am shippered patch.
You put it right where like it says hello.
Like, be a stupid ass like fucking like, "Hi, we're speed networking and shit. How's it going? Yeah, hi, I'm shippered." And just like people like, what the, and it's like a great conversation piece. I bet you're like.
So last time I was at one of these conferences and I was speaking, you get a name tag, right? And they asked for your pronouns. So I said, "I'm Your Highness." And so what wound up happening is that the girl I wound up taking out for coffee like 2 weeks later thought that was the funniest thing ever. And then she's like, "Your Highness, how are you?" And then I said, "You call me his kingship as well. I would accept that." And some people are very upset with me.
It's like, "Your Highness, Your Highness." It's like, yeah. I mean, there's the thing. It's like, I think it's funny. There's a mixture of, in America, like, people don't have a fucking sense of humor anymore, but yet they're trying to have a sense of humor. So when they make jokes, they're just assholes. Where if you had a sense of humor in the first place, you wouldn't make jokes that made you sound like assholes. Like, you would take the pronouns joke and actually make it into a funny joke. Not you, but just in general. And like, it would actually be funny. But since a lot of people don't have a sense of humor, if they ever made a pronouns joke, it would be a dick thing to do.
Oh, I didn't care. I had a great night. I had a great night. I didn't care. I was in
Your
DC.
Highness, hey, you get to be calling yourself whatever the fuck you want. There you go.
I thought it was funny, and a few other people thought it was funny too. And the guy who was standing next to me saw me writing. He's like, "Oh, dude, fucking hey!" Like, he's like, "I wish I thought of that." I'm like, "I know." It was great. It was great. It's like, and he's like, "Fuck, I can't do that." And then the guy next to me was just like so angry, like not angry, but he was like playful angry. Oh, it was great. That whole night was a blast. Best part of it is that it ended with coffee with somebody 2 weeks later, and she was cute and it was fun. So that was the important part. It worked. It worked, guys. That's all I'm gonna say. If it didn't work, it would have been a okay night. But I digress. I do want to back out. I don't know. You get everything pretty much on your campaign, right? Anything deep you get.
Well, so like, okay, so for I have a couple of stretch goals. And it's two more pins kind of a similar style. One's for Demon Bitch, and the other one is blank, so you can write in whatever motherfucker you want and probably fuck up your pin, but who cares? But there's stickers and patches versions of it. But at least with this one, for the new offerings, you have Demon Bitch Pen 15. Now you're going to probably laugh like fuck now because I've explained that stupid joke. So Pen 15 here.
I understood the joke. I just thought it was funny.
How I disseminated why I wrote it as I did. Yeah.
I knew what you were referring to. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, penis here. Yeah, that was the point. Yeah, it's so it's like so like you have the Demon Bitch graphic novel, you have the Demon Bitch kids book, then you have Hello, I'm Shipbird, and then you have the Blender Fuck, and then you have the iterations of that, and then you can get the fan art on nice archival paper in cotton fiber that is signed by each of the artists, and you will get it bagged and boarded and sent to you. They're 30 a piece. And then there's one original painting that Connie Huang did. She also has a print there too of the same painting. And then lastly, it's like there's a book dump for everybody because I'm trying to share everybody's Kickstarters and cross-pollinate. And, you know, it's like free reads of their book, but you can also look at their Kickstarters too. Because also I have a partnership kind of with Rob Christie, who does Turner Family Terrors. I actually did this variant C cover for his book, and that link's on there. But if you back his Kickstarter and mine, you get a copy of that print that I put up there. But not only that, but it's like if you back both digital rewards, both him and mine, then you get the digital version of the print. Now, if you do both physical, then we both sign that print for you. And it's a 5x7, I believe.
So let's actually talk about that. That kind of transitions into something backing out of rewards. Where how do you feel about the health of Kickstarter right now? Because, and this is my take, is that campaigns are struggling. A bunch are. Things have slowed down. And my take is that the economy is complicated. And obviously, I don't have great morality because I just saw a lot of decline in my stocks and equity, and that doesn't help me. I have concerns about the company I work for. And I'm in a sector that sometimes isn't affected by the economy because I work in the education sector. So that sometimes it can go either way. But I don't think I will lose my job in the next 12 months if I don't fuck it up myself. But the economy is definitely in a weird place. I feel there's more projects out there. I feel people are exhausted from spending money, to be honest. I feel money's tightening up from a lot of helicopter money that came in, and that money is slowly leaving the system. I also feel there's more options, and the holidays are coming up, if I didn't already mention that. So I'm curious how you feel about that, because I think cross-pollination, I think not being a dick is a big deal. I think having friends, I mean, I'm now getting more solicitations for interviews, and what people don't understand is that I don't just do comic people, and I've gotten like 6 or 7 requests for people who need interviews, and I'm like, no shit, Sherlock, because that didn't exist during the summer, and the last time I got solicited this way, it was almost a year ago. So I'm curious what you feel about the health and where we are right now in this space, because it is weird to me, and I'm guilty of it, where I've slowed down backing campaigns. I'm exhausted from backing people's campaigns, and for a lot of reasons. And my main reasons are that I got a lot of shit to read. There's better product both in Kickstarter and out of Kickstarter, and the holidays are coming up, which is a concern because I just want to make sure that the people in my immediate family, their gifts are covered.
Well, I mean, it's like this with Kickstarter. It's kind of an interesting goat because I think Kickstarter as a platform isn't bad. I think like what they do to help market the people in Kickstarter, like they have the SEOs, they try to draw people that would be interested in your stuff to your stuff. The only thing that I would find not right about Kickstarter would be this. It kind of sucks if you try to share it on social media, but it's not Kickstarter's fault because social media, especially Facebook and Instagram, will try to suppress it because they're kind of dicks that way. Like I've even tried to like talk to some of my friends and say, oh yeah, I have my, and then they would just shut off my DMs randomly. That was very fucking frustrating to deal with. And now apparently they've stopped because it's like, I think it's kind of probably they realized it was a borderline form of harassment to people because they would do it to people. And they stopped for me with now. But I would say Kickstarter in itself is trying to do a lot to help you get customers within Kickstarter if people go on Kickstarter. But to go on Kickstarter, you kind of have to go like, hey, get on Kickstarter. I have this thing. And that's the part that's kind of problematic. Now with money, I try to go and expand everything to like what could be affordable. Like if you're not sure, you want to test out the book, all the PDFs are $5. And you don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about handling. Just you get a download. You get also other free online books. The other thing that I find interesting is that if you backed the book, like I always send it off promptly in the most cost effective way possible. Media mail is nice. It's good. My stuff qualifies for media mail, so I'm not worried about that because I know some people have floppies and that doesn't qualify, but graphic novels do, so there's that. So I would say that the economy was kind of weird. I will agree. So it's like that's why I allowed myself ample time to get the money that I needed to get for at least this print run. So it's kind of like, okay, I know about this much for this much. I kind of can gauge how my audience is. How much can I get it in the least amount of time, but allow myself breathing room without panicking. And I think I've been doing it's a pretty laid back Kickstarter. Like I'm actually funding at a pretty nice pace. So, I mean, it's like not meteoric, but for what it is, I have a lot of dedicated fans, so that's good. But at the same time, it's like going on these shows helps me to find different people. And I'm glad I'm actually a pretty gregarious person. So if people talk to me, they like me, and so they like my product, and like they really underscore that. They say, "Oh, well, if you talk to people like that, blah blah blah." I'm like, actually, that's probably the best thing you could do because they could read your Kickstarter. And I try to write my Kickstarter like if I have an attention span of a fly, because it's like I sometimes go on a Kickstarter, I'm like, this is a lot of words. I'm kind of done. But if I look at it and like I try to laugh about it, at least it'll keep me interested, but give me information.
Yeah, because this is to even go into that a little bit where, obviously, I mean, I find the whole comic space and pop culture right now to be up in the air. And I find that you have to capture my attention. And obviously, with a comic or a graphic novel, you have different tools than with a movie or a movie trailer. And my attention span is, like 10 seconds in a movie. So if something doesn't happen in a movie trailer within 10 seconds that interests me, I'm like, I'm bored and I'm out. Same thing with covers, same thing with a bunch of other stuff in comics. And what I'm finding, and this is just me, and maybe I'm the odd person out here, and I'm more than happy to, take the L on this, is that a lot of comics to me are becoming more and more generic. And I hate to say this, but also a lot of times when I'm backing books now, is I'm backing just for a cover and I don't even crack open a book. And I just like said artist. And I understand that has become a bigger thing. And so what I'm curious how you feel about that, because obviously Kickstarter's algorithm really is playing right now towards that idea and that beast, where I don't know how many people actually crack open a book. And I'll be honest, I mean, if I'm spending $50 for a book on Kickstarter, probably not cracking it open.
I think for me, it depends. There's like a lot of buyers on Kickstarter that are different. Like there's the TNA, covers that people blame. Oh, well, they're taking away our business and stuff. I haven't noticed that really. I think the TNA covers, to be really frank, that actually has like people like, oh, it's just titties. Like, who cares? It's like, well, a lot of these covers, they're actually done really well and they actually get really good artists. It's usually the collectors that buy them that want to invest in them. I don't know how that equals it, but I guess I think what it is that they kind of think about pinups and things like that, like the old school pinups and shit. Even though like, depending on that level of nudity or whatever, but I think the people that get those and do the pinups, it actually pertains to their product. Like let's say Lady Death, right? She does TNA covers, right? That sort of makes sense for her brand, right? If I did that with Demon Bitch, people are like,
Do you think though, because I'll give an example, right? So Zenoscope is borderline in my opinion, where they don't show any nudity in their book. There's no Robin Hood is not taken off her top, but they'll have a Z-rated cover, which is their nude cover, and you'll see Robin Hood's, breasts, and it's great. It's a beautiful cover. It's an awesome book, right? Nothing intrinsically wrong about that, but their cover reflects their character, but it doesn't necessarily reflect what's in the book. But then you have Lady Death that does, but then you also have a book that it's a character and it's a sword and sorcery type book, and then you have a topless cover, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I get that it's a badass chick, but what you're advertising, full frontal nudity, doesn't exist in this book. I mean, we've seen this with things like Comics Elite, and not to throw them under the bus, but they just did a full frontal nudity Princess Leia Shikari book, and in a Power Hour book, and that had nothing to do with Power Hour. So,
well, that's because of Shikari. Shikari is a well-known artist, and it's TNA, and it's a collectible. That's the thing. As I said, it's like, yeah, there's the TNA, but I think it kind of reminds them of pinups. I think with people, like people think, oh, it's just jerk off material. It's like, I don't know if it's really that. I mean, we could assume that, but I think it's like pinups, like they're sexy, but it's like, it's not like full on like porn. If you get, I mean, there's some that are sort of like, ooh, like she's bent in a certain way and shit, or erotica. Like there's plenty of erotica books on there. But again, I think it kind of has to fit the brand. It kind of has to fit the character, because like if you look at fantasy shit, like you see scantily clad chicks all the time to near naked chicks, so it's kind of expected, even though if it's not in the book at all. But I just think it's sort of funny, that's all. It's just like, to me, it's like some people gripe about it. It's like, oh, I can't believe that shit happened, it's taking away from my book. I don't know if it really does. I think it's like the economy has been weird. I think of that. I think that the strike, hold on, the thing is, like where I live, the strike also really affected people too. The strikes, the writers and actors strikes, which the writers have gotten out of. So it's kind of picked up a little bit. And you don't think it would have affected us all, but it's weird because the movie studios were screwed because they didn't have content and they were trying to pull shit. So there's that too. So it was like very on multi-layers, made a lot of people not very, very uncomfortable.
Did you also feel though that, and this is just my take, and I'm curious what you take on this, that if you have a Bad Girl art cover done by a great artist, one of my favorite artists right now is Greg Watson. I love everything Greg touches, and that great, you have it on your first issue, you do a good job with it, but then your book sucks in the writing, because this is the thing about Zenescope. They have a badass cover by somebody like Elias Chazoudis or Ebass or John Royal, but if the book sucked and the writing sucked, I'm not coming back for issue 2. And that's how I feel about people's Kickstarters right now, is that great, you have a great cover, but if I then crack open your book after the great cover and your book sucks, I'm not back for issue 2. And I've done that where I've loved the cover and I'm like, great, I'm happy to have this cover, but your book was a disaster.
I talked about this on JD Calderon show. We talked about that actually. And it's like the art has to kind of at least be decent to match the cover, or if it has to match the cover on a certain level of quality. And that actually, the thing is, like, you're going to get the first seller. I mean, as I said, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just thinking, like, we did talk about that too. And that's like the conclusion is like, if the artwork is not, and storytelling are not comparable to the cover, or at least decent, then people may just buy it for the cover, but then they say, fuck it, the next time it goes around. They're not going to come back.
Because that's the dilemma I'm winding up in, and then I'll go and then they have another cover on issue 4. I'm like, I don't really know what your story is, but I like this cover a lot. And
that's what I mean, the collectible factor.
And then it becomes a collectible, but then also you have me as a repeat buyer. But you don't have me as a repeat buyer for issue 2 and 3. You have me when you have a certain artist on there, and then it creates a whole freaking kaboggle and a quagmire, I think, for certain people, because it's like, you got to earn my dollar again. And that's where I'm at as a fan, is that everybody on Kickstarter has to earn my dollar now. And I am not a return backer. Very few people have me as a return backer. I mean, they just did a Lady Death book, and I was not a return backer because I've only backed one Lady Death, and I wanted to see how it was done and how my experience was. And I wish Brian Polito and his team held off a week or later, or got me my book faster, because I probably would have been a return backer. But given that as my first experience, I didn't feel like saying, I want to see how did this go, which I also think is a big problem, is that running Kickstarters without getting me your book.
Mm-hmm.
Just so for me to experience what you put out, because how the hell do I know if you did a good job or not?
Well, that's why I offer the PDFs, because if people are like so I have a graphic novel, right? And it's nicely bound, everything else, it's durable, whatever, right? But the thing is, I can understand why some people don't want to get it because, could be shipping. It could be a lot of things. They're not sure if they want to have the book. So that's why I offer like $5 a PDF in my things. Just like, here, take a look. I mean, the book will still be available once printed, but if you're not comfortable with it right now, I get it. So just go ahead and just get a PDF version. And if you are questioning all my books, like I'll get them at $5 a piece. I think there's a tier where you can get all of them for $40, and they're all $5 a piece, regardless of how big they are. Some of them are very thick, some of them are very small. Not small like 12 pages, but you know what I mean. Like they're still books, but they're vary in size. But at least $5, it seems like most everybody's like, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. Or they'll buy physical rewards, but they don't have room for like books, or vice versa. This gives them space to at least enjoy the books and read them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway,
it's like,
no, you go.
No, it's okay. I didn't know. It's like,
No, I agree. But we've been speaking for almost an hour and over an hour 15 minutes. And we could go on for another hour easily on everything and anything, and we have in the past.
yeah.
And I don't want to beat a horse dead. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about, a lot of stuff, but some of that we're gonna have to save for the next time. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, all that fun stuff?
Well, you can go on horrortourstudios.com. That's like a link tree. So it has links to my Kickstarter, video game promo, my website, my store that is not Kickstarter, and events that I might be showcasing at that time.
And then I've been saying, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie. What that means is when people have campaigns on and about, on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Zoop, crowdfund, Fund My Indie, all that fun stuff. You need to go out and actually support them, and spend money and actually back a tier. It goes a long way. And let's say money's tight, or let's say it's not your cup of tea, then you need to go share it out with people, sharing it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, YouTube, talking about it, message somebody, send out smoke signals. It's all up to you how you want to share it out. I'm all for it. And also following people on social media goes a long way as well, and interacting with them makes a huge difference.
And all my social media is on my website too, so as well as my Substack.
And so I recommend people do it. And then as far as I'm concerned with everything that I got, obviously I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I am Pop Anime Comics. I am at 549 subscribers. One more, guys, and we're at 550, almost there. Got a feeling it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. And obviously we're just chiming and pushing away, subscriber by subscriber. And I got a lot of content on YouTube. I got 1,200 videos, a lot of micro content, a lot of interviews, a lot of other content is coming. And in the next probably week or two, we're going to be doing 30 to 35 videos a week coming out. So there's plenty of content. And I have voice actors, wrestlers, comic writers, creators, cosplayers. The occasional adult star comes on my show, and everybody in between. So you will be entertained. I cannot promise you will get smarter. I will tell you, though, you will be thoroughly entertained with my content, and there's something for everyone, and there's an endless amount of content for everyone. So you spend hours, days, weeks, years on my YouTube channel having a blast. So that's all I got, and that's everything that I got pushed out there. And also, I have an eBay store, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, so I do sell a lot of really cool books, and some of that stuff is pricey, and there's a lot more stuff coming. So just keep the lookout for that, where there's some really, really rare books coming that are limited to 15, and they look beautiful. And they should be up maybe in 3-4 weeks. So I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I can tell you that they are well worth the price I'm asking for. So that's everything I got, and I'm going to give you the final word.
Just go ahead and check out the Kickstarter. There's not one thing where you can get a foul-mouthed, pissed-off book and a kid's book that's totally appropriate for children to be in there. It's very reverent and very fun, and I would like you to read it so I can write you a very rude, gross thank you note and very rude, gross things in each of the books as well. But I'll tone it down for your kids in the kids' book.
Well, I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.